Hi everyone, welcome back to another installment of Inside Watches, where I will share the industry's best watch collecting tips and tricks to help you curate a more valuable luxury watch collection. As always, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Bob's Watches YouTube channel to receive notifications on future videos just like this one. You're probably familiar with the Rolex Maxi dial, but did you know that it isn't exclusive to just modern watches? There are vintage Rolexes on the market featuring what we would consider to be Maxi dials as well. In this episode of Inside Watches, I'll discuss everything you need to know about the famous Rolex Maxi dial, including which models feature it and its history. But before we begin, what exactly is the Rolex Maxi dial anyway? The term Maxi refers to dials with larger hour markers in hands. Today, the Maxi dial is a fixture of the current Rolex sports watch category, including the Submariner, GMT Master 2, and Yacht Master. These models are distinguished by large, round hour markers in gold surrounds, giving them an overall glitzier, more contemporary aesthetic than older Rolexes with non-Maxi dials. It's also important to note that not every model in the sports category has a Maxi dial. For example, the Daytona features baton-style hour markers. Although the first instance of a Rolex watch sporting a Maxi dial technically took place decades ago, the term Maxi didn't become widespread until shortly after the green bezel Rolex Submariner 16610 LV Kermit came to market in the early 2000s. It was the 50th anniversary of the Rolex Submariner, and Rolex commemorated this special occasion with the beloved Kermit. Reference 16610 LV was essentially the classic 16610 Submariner that had already been in production for several years, but with a colorful green aluminum bezel and a black Maxi dial. In addition to being the first instance of a Submariner with a modern Maxi dial, it is the only pairing of a modern Maxi dial with an aluminum bezel. The aluminum bezel was replaced a few years later with ceramic, also known as Cerachrom, creating the iconic Maxi dial and ceramic bezel duo we know and love today. That brings us to reference 116610, which came to market in 2010, featuring a black ceramic bezel, a super case with bigger crown guards and thicker lugs, and a black Maxi dial. Holding the original non-Kermit Submariner reference 16610 next to its successor, reference 116610, you can immediately see the size difference between the hour markers. With the term Maxi becoming more common, the vintage market took notice and soon started to refer to vintage watches with larger than normal hour markers as Maxi as well. Hence why the term is only now becoming popular for both modern and vintage models. One of the most well-known vintage Rolexes with a Maxi dial is a Submariner 5513. It was produced for decades, during which 5 Maxi dial variations came to market that we now categorize into marks 1 through 5. The difference between each mark variation usually comes down to differences in the font and positioning of the text. However, most 5513 Maxi dials have the Submariner logo positioned above the depth rating, except for the first Mark Maxi dial. They also feature tall Rolex coronets, closed or open sixes in the depth rating, and either serif or non-serif text. Reference 16610 eventually replaced the reference 5513, and as you now know, would bring with it the modern Maxi dial alongside the green bezel Kermit. Whether it's the vintage Milsub reference 5517, GMT Master reference 1675, or the current production Submariner reference 126610, the Maxi dial is a fun and quirky Rolex feature that I think we can all agree adds a lot of character to any watch. Well, that's pretty much everything you need to know about the Rolex Maxi dial. What do you think about the look of the larger hour markers in hands? Be sure to let us know in the comments. We'll be back with another episode soon. Until then, be well.